The knife sliced through the air before I even saw it coming, glinting under the fluorescent buzz of the kitchen light like a promise of regret. "You're not my son anymore." Dad's voice cracked like thunder. His eyes, those eyes I'd idolized since Little League, now hollow with something darker than disappointment. Blood bloomed on my palm as I dropped the family photo I'd been holding, the glass shattering across the linoleum, mirroring the pieces of us. I was 12 the first time I knew I was different, but it took until 25 for the world to start charging me for it. Growing up in the sprawling suburbs of Columbus, Ohio, where cornfields kissed the edges of manicured lawns and Sunday barbecues were as mandatory as breathing, being gay wasn't just a secret. It was a debt. My family, the Hargroves, were the picture of Midwestern normalcy. Dad, the stoic auto mechanic with grease under his nails and a Bible on the nightstand. Mom, the elementary school teacher who baked apple pies that won blue ribbons at the fair. And my older sister, Emily, the golden child with her cheerleading trophies and engagement ring that sparkled like it had its own zip code. But me, Lucas Hargrove, the quiet kid who preferred sketching sunsets over tossing footballs, the one who lingered a beat too long in the locker room showers, stealing glances at the curve of a teammate's shoulder. They called it a phase at first. Boys will be boys, Mom would say with a forced laugh, ruffling my hair while Dad grunted approval from behind his newspaper. By high school, the phase had a name: abomination. Whispers in the hallways turned to shouts in the church basement, where Pastor Reynolds preached fire and brimstone with a finger jabbed skyward. I learned to hide, to smile through the ache, to bury my sketches in shoeboxes under the bed. College in Chicago was supposed to be the great escape. Northwestern on a partial scholarship for my art, where the city lights drowned out the small-town echoes. That's where I met Asher. God, Asher. He was a whirlwind of contradictions. Tall, with that effortless tousle of chestnut hair that fell over hazel eyes like autumn leaves. A poli-sci major from Boston, all sharp wit and sharp pursuits, quoting Whitman in coffee shops while sketching protest signs for his campus rallies. We collided at a queer-lit reading in a cramped bookstore off-campus, my hand brushing his as we both reached for the last dog-eared copy of Giovanni's Room. "Care to arm wrestle for it?" he'd quipped, his grin slicing through my defenses like sunlight through fog. 3 months later, we were inseparable. Late nights in his off-campus apartment, tangled in debates about identity and revolution, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on my skin as we whispered dreams of a world that didn't demand apologies. Asher made me believe in us. He talked of moving to New York after graduation, starting a graphic design firm together, turning my sketches into something that could change minds. "You're not a phase, Lucas," he'd murmur against my neck. "You're the goddamn revolution." It was the first time anyone had ever said my name like it was a prayer, not a curse. But revolutions cost money, and mine was already in the red. Back home, the calls started innocently enough. "Just a loan, Lukey?" Emily cooed over the phone her senior year of college, her voice syrupy with that big sister charm. "The wedding's eating us alive, and David's truck needs repairs." "You'll get it back, pinky swear." I wired her $500, the last of my savings from summer gigs at the campus cafe. She sent a thank you card with glittery hearts, but the money vanished like smoke. Then Dad's turn. "Business is slow, son. Layoffs at the plant. Need to keep the lights on. $2,000 for tools," he said. Mom followed with medical bills, her rheumatoid arthritis flaring up, the copays stacking like accusations. "We raised you better than to let family suffer," she'd say, her voice trembling just enough to hook the guilt. I scraped it together from scholarships, side hustles, even selling a few pieces online. Asher noticed the strain, the way I'd stare at my bank app like it was a battlefield. "They're using you," he'd warn, his brow furrowing over takeout tie. "Like a piggy bank they can smash whenever they feel broke." I laughed it off. "Family's family, Ash. It's temporary." But it wasn't. By graduation, I'd funneled nearly $10,000 their way, my student loans looming like storm clouds. Asher and I packed up for New York anyway, subletting a shoebox in Brooklyn with creaky floors and a view of the East River that made the debt feel distant. The city swallowed us whole, neon buzz and endless hustle, where being gay was just another flavor in the melting pot. We landed freelance gigs. Me illustrating book covers, him pitching ad campaigns. Nights were ours. Rooftop picnics under the stars. His head on my shoulder as we mapped futures on napkins stained with cheap wine. The first crack came 6 months in during Pride. We marched hand in hand down Fifth Avenue. Rainbow flags whipping like war banners. The crowds roar a bomb on old wounds. I felt invincible, Asher's laughter bubbling against my ear. But my phone buzzed mid-chant. Emily, hysterical. David lost his job. The house payment, Lucas, please. We're drowning. I stepped out of the parade, heart pounding, and Venmo'd her $3,000. Asher found me later, slumped on a stoop, the confetti at my feet turning to ash. This stops now, he said, pulling me into his arms. Or it'll break you. I promised I'd set boundaries. But boundaries in the Hargrove family were like speed bumps on a highway, annoying but ultimately ignored. The calls escalated. Dad's investment opportunity in a buddy's failing garage, for grand. Mom's, just this once, for Emily's honeymoon deposit. 2 more. Each time, I justify it. Their faces flashing in my mind, the same ones that had once cheered at my art shows. Asher grew distant, his touches lingering with unspoken worry. You're not their ATM, Lucas. You're their scapegoat. For being you. He wasn't wrong. The subtext was always there, woven into every plea. If you weren't so busy with your lifestyle, you'd understand real problems. Emily's texts dripped with it. Wish you could meet a nice girl, settle down. Make mom happy. Dad's voicemails ended with sighs heavy as anvils. Pray on it, son. Find your way back. It was never about the money. It was about the difference, the unspoken tax for daring to love like I did. We fought that night, our first real one. In the dim glow of our string lights, Asher paced, his voice rising like a tide. They're bleeding you dry because they can't accept you. And you're letting them. I fired back, the words tasting like bile. You don't get it. You had the white picket fence, the accepting parents. This is my fight. He stopped, hurt flickering in those hazel eyes. Your fight? It's ours, Lucas. Or it was. He stormed out, the door slamming like a guillotine. He came back at dawn, coffee in hand, apologies spilling like rain. We rebuilt, brick by fragile brick, therapy sessions in a walk-up office, date nights at indie films where we'd hold hands unapologetically. Asher even called my folks once, on speaker, his voice steady as he offered to help mediate. Dad hung up mid-sentence. Fairy godmother now, huh? The line went dead. The real storm hit a year later, in the dead of a Brooklyn winter. I just landed a dream gig, illustrating a YA novel about a queer teen finding his voice. The advance enough to breathe easy for once. Asher and I celebrated with champagne on the fire escape, toasting to stability. Then my phone lit up. Unknown number, but the area code screamed Columbus. It was Emily's husband, David, slurring through what sounded like a bar tab. Your sister's in the ER. Overdose. Pills and vodka. Get your ass home. The flight was a blur, Asher at my side, his hand a lifeline through turbulence. Columbus General smelled of bleach and regret. The waiting room a purgatory of fluorescent hums. Mom sat ramrod straight, Dad pacing like a caged wolf. Emily was stable. Accidental, they said. Stress from the baby on the way and David's layoffs. But her eyes, when she woke, were hollow mirrors of my own guilt. I didn't mean to, she whispered, gripping my hand. It's just, everything's falling apart. I stayed 2 weeks, nursing her through recovery, wiring money for rehab I couldn't afford. Asher flew back to handle work, promising daily calls. But the distance cracked us open. Late-night confessions turned to silences, his texts laced with fatigue. I love you, but this family's a black hole, he admitted one night, and you're orbiting too close. When I returned, the apartment felt foreign. Asher's suits hung straighter, my sketchpads untouched. We tried, oh God, we tried. Couples counseling in a Soho loft, weekends in the Catskills where we'd hike until exhaustion drowned the doubts. But the debt tally climbed. 15 grand now, a noose disguised as IOUs. And the family? They sensed weakness, doubled down. Dad's final ask. 20,000 for the garage's bankruptcy filing. It's your legacy, son. Don't let it die because of distractions. I said no. For the first time, the word tasted like freedom. His rage was volcanic. Ungrateful little queer. After all we've done. Mom's tears followed. A torrent of how could you? Emily's silence was the sharpest blade. Asher held me through the sobs, his embrace a fortress. Proud of you, he whispered. This is the start. But starts have shadows. 2 months later, the betrayal landed like a sucker punch. I came home early from a client meeting, the spring air thick with promise. Asher was at the kitchen table, laptop open, our shared banking app glowing. He slammed it shut too late. I'd seen the transfer. 5 grand from our joint savings to Emily's account. It's not, he started, but the lie died on his lips. You promised. I choked, the room spinning. You said you'd never interfere. His face crumpled, hazel eyes pleading. She called me Lucas, crying about the baby, the foreclosure. I thought, one time, to help you. Help me? It was the ultimate knife twist. My own lover, playing fixer behind my back, treating me like the fragile thing they all assumed I was. You think I'm broken? I hurled, voice shattering. That I can't handle my own mess without you swooping in like some savior? He reached for me, but I recoiled, the air between us electric with fracture. I did it because I love you, he begged. Because watching you bleed for them is killing us. I fled to the roof, the city a glittering accusation below. Rain started, fat drops mingling with tears, soaking the statements I'd printed that morning. Every transaction, every plea, a ledger of exploitation. That's when it hit. Not just the money, but the pattern. The way they'd weaponized my queerness, turning love into leverage. Piggy bank for being different. Asher found me there, drenched and defiant, the papers clutched like armor. Look, I said, thrusting them at him, voice raw. All of it. Dates, amounts, their words. Proof. He scanned the pages, horror dawning. Jesus, Lucas. This is embezzlement of the soul. We stood there, rain forging us anew, his hand finally finding mine. I'm sorry, he whispered. Let me help for real this time. Together. The climax brewed over weeks, a storm front rolling in from the heartland. I drafted the letter, calm, clinical, a bill of reckoning. Copies to each dad, mom, Emily. Repay or reveal. Not to shame, but to sever. The statements weren't just numbers. They were testimonies, timestamps of manipulation masked as family ties. Asher proofed it, his edits sharpening the blade without dulling the heart. This isn't revenge, he said, kissing my temple. It's reclamation. Mailing them felt like exhaling after years underwater. Responses trickled in like poison ivy. Dad's fury via certified mail, a scrawl disowned on legal letterhead. Mom's voicemails, a litany of pleas laced with scripture. Emily's email, a novel of apologies that rang half hollow. But the money came too, in drips then floods. 10 grand from Dad, wired with a note. Take it and stay gone. Emily's check bounced twice before clearing, attached to a babbling letter about therapy and regret. Asher and I rebuilt on firmer ground. No more joint accounts, but shared dreams instead, nights plotting our firm, days sketching billboards for queer youth helplines. The city softened around us, Brooklyn's pulse syncing with our own. One evening, atop that same rooftop where betrayal had bloomed, Asher dropped to one knee. Not with a ring, too conventional for us, but a custom sketch pad, its cover inked with our intertwined hands against a skyline of possibilities. Marry me? He asked, voice steady as the Hudson. Not to fix you, to build with you. Tears came, hot and healing. Yes, I breathed, pulling him up into the kind of kiss that rewrites histories. We weren't fixed, scars like mine don't fade to smooth, but we were whole, human, flawed, and fiercely loved. In the end, the statements they feared weren't just financial. They were the map of my worth, drawn in ink and resolve. They treated me like a piggy bank for being different, but I showed them the vault was mine, and the riches inside unbreakable. The wedding was small, the kind of intimate that Brooklyn does best. A rooftop affair at our building, string lights twinkling like captured fireflies against the July dusk. No Hargroves in sight, though Mom sent a card, its edges frayed from too many rereadings. Proud in my way. Love always. It sat on our mantel, a tentative bridge over the chasm. Asher's family flew in from Boston. His dad, a burly Irish cop with a bear hug that smelled of pipe tobacco. His mom, a librarian with stories in her eyes and acceptance in her handshake. Your family now, she told me, pressing a worn copy of the Joy Luck Club into my hands. Read between the lines. Vows were simple, etched in the language of us. Promises to fight fair, to hold space for ghosts, to choose joy in the margins. Asher's voice cracked on through every storm, his hazel eyes locking mine like anchors. Mine held steady, the words a vow to myself as much as him. I choose you not despite the breaks, but because they led here. Rings were mismatched. Mine a hammered silver band etched with a skyline. His a sleek gold one inked inside with revolution. The officiant, a drag queen named Ruby Royale in sequins that rivaled the stars, pronounced us hitched with a flourish. Now kiss like the world's ending, because honey, it just got a whole lot brighter. Cheers erupted, our 20 guests. Mostly queer artists and activists we'd collected like mosaic tiles. Toasting with spiked lemonade and stories of their own reckonings. Laughter echoed off the bricks, a symphony drowning old echoes. But as the night deepened, a shadow slipped in uninvited. My phone buzzed in my pocket, insistent as a heartbeat. Unknown number, Columbus code. I ignored it through cake cutting. Lemon chiffon with rainbow sprinkles. But it persisted, vibrating against my thigh like an accusation. Asher noticed, his thumb brushing my knuckles. Ghosts? He murmured, concern etching his brow. I nodded, forcing a smile. Later. Tonight's ours. But curiosity clawed, and after the bouquet toss, which Ruby caught with theatrical flair, I slipped to the fire escape, the city humming below like a lullaby. The voicemail was Dad's voice, gravelly and unyielding. Heard you're playing house. Emily's boy, our grandson, is sick. Hospital bills piling up. Thought you'd want to know. Click. Sickness. The word landed like frost, numbing the warmth. I replayed it twice, each loop tightening the noose. Asher found me there, his tie loosened, sleeves rolled to elbows. Talk to me, he said, settling beside me. His warmth a counterpoint to the cooling night. I played it for him, the tinny echo filling the space between us. His jaw tightened, but his voice stayed even. Don't borrow trouble. Call tomorrow. Boundaries, remember? Boundaries. The word mocked me as I lay awake that night. Asher's snores a gentle rhythm beside me. Dawn brought resolve. A quick call to Emily, clinical as a deposition. What's going on? No pleasantries, no congrats on the wedding. Her paws stretched, then crumbled into sobs. Pneumonia. He's tiny, Lucas, 3 months old, and the NICU. It's thousands a day. Insurance caps out. The baby. My nephew, a fragile new thread in the family web. David's working doubles, but we didn't want to ask. After everything, the ledger flashed in my mind. Balances restored but scars eternal. Send the statements, I said, echoing my own reckoning. Itemized. I'll review. It wasn't mercy. It was method. Asher, over coffee, nodded approval. Smart. Protect us first. We poured over the docs when they arrived. Bills crisp as indictments, totals climbing past 50 grand. My gut twisted, not from the sum, but the subtext. Help us because you're the soft one. The one who bends. We debated in whispers over takeout falafel. The loft's exposed beams casting judgmental shadows. We can't, Asher said finally, his fork stabbing a chickpea. Not like before. But, a fund? Anonymous? Through a lawyer. It was compromise, humanistic in its mercy, a lifeline without hooks. I wired $10,000 the next day, routed through a trust Asher's cousin set up, no names attached. Emily's text came swift. Thank you, whoever you are. Means the world. No reply from me. The silence was my boundary, etched in ether. Summer blurred into fall. Our life a canvas of firsts. Asher's pitch landing a campaign for a queer-owned coffee brand. My illustrations gracing bookstore windows from Williamsburg to the village. We adopted a rescue mutt named Whitman. Scruffy, loyal, with a penchant for stealing socks, and walks in Prospect Park became rituals. His leash a metaphor for leashes we'd shed. But the past is a persistent tide, lapping at foundations. Dad's letters arrived sporadically, postmarked Columbus, handwriting veined like old rivers. Church groups praying for you. Straighten up. Each one I burned in the sink, the flames a small exorcism. Then the call that shattered the idol. November, leaves carpeting the sidewalks in crimson regret. I was mid-sketch, charcoal smudging my fingers, when Asher burst through the door, face ashen. Your sister. Car accident. David's driving. The world tilted, charcoal scattering like fleeing thoughts. Details tumbled. Icy roads, a semi, Emily in surgery, broken femur, internal bleeding. The baby, miraculously, fine at home with a sitter. She's asking for you, he said, already packing a bag. Flights in 2 hours. Chicago O'Hare to Columbus was a red-eye purgatory. Asher's head on my shoulder, his breathing an anchor. The hospital was a maze of beeps and bleach. Mom in the lobby like a wilted flower, Dad absent as ever. She made it through, Mom whispered, hugging me fierce. But the bills. Again. I nodded, numb, following her to the room where Emily lay, pale against starched sheets, tubes snaking like accusations. Her eyes fluttered open, finding mine. Lucas, you came. Of course I did. Blood, after all, whispers louder than vows. We talked in fragments, her regrets spilling like 4 drips. The pills, the accident, David's rage-fueled swerve. I was texting you, she admitted, voice a rasp. About the baby. Wanted to say sorry proper. Tears tracked her cheeks, mirroring mine. Asher waited outside, giving space, but his presence hummed like a force field. Recovery stretched weeks, me shuttling between coasts. Asher holding the fort with video calls that bridged the miles. Emily healed slow, physical therapy a grind of grit and groans. I footed the medical gap, $8,000, pulled from our emergency fund we'd sworn sacred. This is the last, I told her, statements in hand once more. Not because I don't love you, because love isn't a ledger. She nodded, tears fresh. I know, and congrats on the wedding. Wish I could have been there. Mom cornered me in the cafeteria one gray afternoon, her hands trembling around a styrofoam cup. Your father's dying, Lucas. Liver. From the drinking. The words landed soft, then detonated. Dad, invincible dad, reduced to scans and morphine. He won't say it, but he wants you there. End it right. Asher, on speaker from Brooklyn, urged caution. Go if you need to, but armored. We've come too far. The hospice smelled of wilted roses and finality. Dad a shadow in the bed, machines beeping dirges. He looked small, the grease erased, leaving only bones and eyes, those eyes now pleading. Son, he croaked, hand extended. I took it, the grip weak as paper. Sorry, he mumbled, words slurring into confession. For the hurt, for everything, the money, the words. Feared losing you to yourself. It wasn't absolution, but it was human, raw, ragged, real. I stayed till the end, 3 days of vigils and silences. Asher flying in for the vigil, his hand in mine as Dad slipped away. The funeral was Methodist, subdued, rain pattering on the tent like impatient fingers. Emily leaned on me, the baby, now chubby-cheeked Theo, in her arms, oblivious to the weight. Mom read a eulogy laced with scripture, her voice steady for the first time in years. No mention of me, of us, but a glance my way, soft, almost proud. Asher stood sentinel, his suit impeccable, whispering, Your grace incarnate. Back in New York, The city welcomed us with indifferent arms, but home felt hallowed. We scattered Dad's ashes in the East River at dawn, a quiet rite with just us and Whitman, the waves claiming what the land couldn't hold. To new chapters, Asher toasted with travel mugs of coffee, his arm around me. But chapters loop, and mine circled back in spring with a letter from Mom. Theo's first steps. Come see? We went, cautious as deer. The house in Columbus was quieter without Dad's hammer bangs. Emily's new place a rental with toys strewn like confetti. Theo toddled to me, pudgy hands grasping, his giggle a solvent on old acids. Mom watched, tentative, then pulled me aside. Therapy, she said, voice low. Group for parents. Learning to accept. It wasn't perfection, but progress, human, halting, hopeful. Asher and I drove back under starlit interstates, his hand on my thigh, the road unspooling like forgiveness. You did it, he said. Showed them the statements they feared. Not just paper, but your strength. I smiled, the weight lifting like fog. Different, yes, but no longer a debt. We were the balance now, Asher and I. Lovers, partners, revolutionaries in quiet domesticity. Yet life, that sly dramatist, had one more act. Summer swelled, our firm taking off, Haven Designs, branding for queer nonprofits, billboards blooming across the boroughs. Then the email from a lawyer in Ohio, estate matters. Dad's will, probated late, left me the garage, deed and all, with a note scrawled in his chicken scratch. Fix what I broke. For you. 20 acres of rusted potential. A legacy laundered in regret. We debated selling, but Asher's eyes lit with vision. Turn it into something. A community space, art studio for queer kids, workshops on identity. It was poetic justice, the piggy bank flipped to a fountain. We flew out, blueprints in tow, Mom and Emily joining tentative tours. Beautiful, Mom breathed, tracing a wall where murals would bloom. Emily hugged me fierce. Proud of you, big brother. As hammers rang that fall, building anew from old bones, Asher and I stood amid the dust, hands clasped. The statements they'd feared, they'd become blueprints. Proof that difference isn't a deficit, but a dividend. We treated the past like soil, rich with lessons, and planted roots deep. In America, land of reinvention, we bloomed unapologetic, our love the sunniest plot. Winter wrapped Brooklyn in its familiar chill, but our world felt warmer, edged with the glow of possibility. Haven Designs hummed, my sketches evolving into interactive exhibits for a queer history museum uptown. Asher's campaigns going viral, one in particular. A Subway ad series featuring everyday couples. Tagline loves not alone. It struck chords, shares spiking, clients flooding. But success has its sirens, and mine sang in the form of an old college buddy. Nate, crashing back into orbit. Nate was chaos incarnate, blonde, broad-shouldered, with a laugh that filled rooms and a history major's knack for unearthing buried truths. We'd roomed freshman year, bonded over late-night bong rips and debates on Foucault. His straight-passing ease a shield I'd envied. Post-grad, he'd vanished into DC think tanks, but a conference brought him to the city, queer policy now, at the new school. Drinks? His text pinged, casual as confetti. Asher arched a brow over dinner. Old flame, teasing, but laced with that old vigilance. Nah, just trouble. I laughed, but went anyway. Nostalgia a sneaky beast. The bar was divey, neon flickering over sticky floors. Nate holding court with stories of Beltway backstabs. Beers flowed, then shots, his knee brushing mine under the table in that accidental-on-purpose way. Missed you, Hargrove, he slurred, eyes lingering. Always the sensitive one. I pulled back, sighting Asher, the ring glinting like a ward. He waved it off. Open marriage vibes? Kidding. But seriously, you're glowing. Marriage suits. It was harmless, or so I told Asher the next morning, nursing a hangover with his greasy spoon omelets. Nate's Nate, I shrugged. All bark. Asher nodded, but his smiles tightened, a fracture hairline thin. Work swallowed the unease, deadlines piling like snowdrifts. our loft a warren of mood boards and mock-ups. Then Nate's follow-up, coffee, for old times. I declined, but he persisted, emails laced with remember when nostalgia, one attaching a photo from college. Us arm in arm at a rally, signs aloft. Missed that fire. Asher saw it first, the screen glowing accusatory. What's this? Quiet, but thunder rumbled. I explained, fumbling, just reminiscing. Nothing. His laugh was bitter fog. Reminiscing? Or regretting? The straight guy who gets what you lost. Normalcy, no baggage. The words eviscerated, slicing to the bone of insecurities I'd thought buried. That's not fair. I shot back, heat rising. You're projecting your own fears. The fight escalated, voices echoing off brick walls, Whitman cowering under the couch. I'm not the one entertaining ghosts, Asher hurled, face flushed. You think I don't see it? The way you flinch at family calls, the hesitation in your yes. Nate's the what if, the life without the mess. I reeled, the ledger flipping. Now I was the betrayer, my past a phantom infidelity. I chose you, I roared, tears hot. Every day, despite the mess you call love. He stormed to the spare room, our office, now a barricade. Silence stretched days, mediated by takeout and terse texts. Coffee? Later. Whitman became our ambassador, nudging paws under doors. Nate, sensing void, texted, heard you're fighting. Want an ear? Delete. But the seed festered doubt, that insidious weed. Climax crested at a holiday party. Haven's blowout in a loft downtown. Fairy lights and figgy eggnog masking the strain. Asher arrived late, suit crisp, but his eyes shadowed. Nate was there, invited via a client overlap, oblivious charmer holding court. I stuck to Asher's side, hand possessive on his waist, but Nate gravitated, toasts clinking. To Lucas, the heart of the revolution. Asher's grip tightened, nails biting. Later, by the punch bowl, Nate cornered me. You okay? Look like hell. Honesty spilled, bourbon loose. The family, the will, the wedge. He nodded, sage-like. Sounds like survivor's guilt. My folks disowned my sister for transitioning. Took years to bridge. But you're building empires. Let the past be fertilizer. Wise words. But his hand on my shoulder lingered. Electric. Asher witnessed from across the room, misreading the tableau. The cab ride home was arctic, his silence a scalpel. Tell me, he demanded as the door slammed. Was it worth it? The flirtation. Denial crumbled under accusation. He's a friend. You're the love. But evidence mounted, Nate's texts, innocent but incriminating. Friend, Asher mocked. Like Emily was my friend when I sent the money? The callback stung, our shared sin weaponized. That was protection, I countered. This is paranoia. He paced, voice breaking. Paranoia? Or pattern? You let them use you, Lucas. Now you're letting him tempt you. The easy out. The room spun, betrayals layering like sediment. Family's exploitation, my own complicity, Asher's fear-mirrored mistrust. I grabbed the statements, those damn talismans, from the drawer, slamming them down. Read them again. See the cost of doubt. He did, pages trembling, then deflated. I'm scared, he admitted, voice small, of losing you to the what-ifs, to the normal you crave. The admission cracked me open, vulnerability a solvent. Normal's a myth, I whispered, pulling him close. You're my revolution, mess and all. Reconciliation was raw. Nights of unfiltered talks. Therapy resuming with a new counselor versed in queer trauma. Nate faded gracefully. A text. Bow out. Be happy. Asher burned the photo. Ashes to the wind. Spring thawed us. Haven expanding to include workshops at the garage, now Haven House. A haven for Midwestern queer youth, bust in monthly. Mom visited once. Theo on her hip, eyes widening at the murals. Mine of a boy breaking chains, rainbow forged. You're healing us all, she said, tentative hug. Emily followed, Theo's laughter echoing off beams. Family refracted, flawed but flickering toward light. But drama delights in detours. Summer scorched, a heat wave baking the city, when a client pulled out. Major contract, queer health initiative, yanked for budget. Cash flow choked, bills mounting like old ghosts. Asher's pitches dried. Freelance, a feast or famine beast. We dipped into savings, the wedding cushion eroding. Temporary, we chanted, but stress simmered. Late nights arguing spreadsheets. Whitman's whines the soundtrack. Then, the call. From a Columbus number, Emily's voice edged with panic. Mom's stroke. Bad. Come quick. Again, the pull, title, inexorable. Asher packed without question, but tension hummed. This can't be the cycle, he said in the airport. Or we'll drown. The hospital was déjà vu. Mom frail in the ICU. Emily red-eyed. Prognosis poor, the doc said. End stage. Vigil stretched, days blurring into beeps. Mom rallied briefly, her hand in mine. Forgive me, Lukey, for the fear. Tears mingled. Already did, Mom. Asher held space, his presence a quiet bulwark. She slipped a week later, peaceful, surrounded by Emily's stories and my sketches pinned to the wall, visions of futures she'd never see. The funeral was Catholic this time, per her wishes, rain a requiem. Dad's grave nearby, a stone's throw in eternity. Emily and I stood after, Theo squirming, the weight settling. Orphans now in ways profound. What now? She asked, voice small. Sell the house? Start over. We did, together, me handling probate remotely, her relocating to a Philly suburb for David's job transfer. The inheritance was modest, split fair, but laced with letters. Mom's to me. You were always the brave one. Love like yours? Is the real American dream. I framed it beside Dad's note. Back in Brooklyn, Asher and I mourned in motion. Marathon runs along the promenade. Dawn yoga on the roof. We're the survivors, he said one night, stars pricking the sky. The ones who rewrite. Haven rebounded, a grant from that viral campaign salvaging the contract. We hired on a trans illustrator named Kai whose lines sang of resilience. A non-binary marketer, Jordan, with ideas that sparked. Fall gilded the edges. Theo's second birthday, a video call celebration. His cake-smeared grin a bomb. Emily thrived. Therapy her anchor. Texts evolving to Miss You sans subtext. Nate, a distant echo, holiday cards from D.C., platonic as postcards. Yet the deepest conflict brewed internal, a betrayal self-inflicted. During a brutal deadline crunch, I relapsed. Sketches abandoned, whiskey bottles multiplying. Asher confronted, gentle but firm. This is the family's echo. Don't let it win. Therapy unearthed it. Grief's disguise as numbness, queerness's tax compounded by loss. I fear I'm the curse, I confessed. Different, so doomed. His response was fire. Bullshit. You're the light, Lucas. The statements proved it, your strength, not their fear. We recommitted, couples retreats in the Berkshires, where hikes healed what words couldn't. Whitman aged gracefully, graying muzzle a testament to time's mercy. By year's end, Haven House hosted its first residency. 5 queer teens from Ohio, bunking in renovated lofts, workshops forging art from ache. One kid, Jamie, with eyes like mine at 12, gifted me a drawing. 2 men on a rooftop, statements aflame, phoenix rising. Thanks for the haven, he said. Asher and I watched from the porch, hands entwined, the garage reborn a beacon. The world treated me like a piggy bank once, but we'd shown the statements of love's unyielding audit, humanity's red ink turning black with grace. The new year dawned crisp, Brooklyn's brownstones dusted in possibility, but beneath the veneer, undercurrents stirred. Haven designs ballooned, offices now in a Bushwick warehouse, exposed ducks sighing like old friends, walls papered in client wins. Kai and Jordan became family, potlucks a ritual of shared stories. Kai's transition tales over vegan tacos, Jordan's polyamory wisdoms with wine. Asher thrived as creative director, his pitches magnetic, but I sensed the strain. Late nights blurring into dawn, His hazel eyes ringed with fatigue. Delegate, I urged over breakfast burritos, Whitman's tail thumping approval. He grinned, but it didn't reach. Can't. This queer film fest branding? It's us raw real. The project was passion. Posters for an indie doc on Stonewall's unsung heroes. Our chance to etch history. I dove in, illustrations bleeding urgency. Fists raised in silhouette, rainbows fracturing like light through prisms. But midway, a snag. The director, Marcus, a Silver Fox auteur with Sundance cred, clashed visions. Too sentimental, he'd critique. His gaze lingering on me like a close-up. Need edge. Pain not polish. Asher bristled at meetings, his arm a possessive drape. It's Lucas's art, he'd defend, voice steel. Marcus waved it off. Charm offensive. Genius like his? Worth pushing. Dinner invites followed. Brainstorm. Asher declining. Buried in logistics. I went once, solo, red flags waving like forgotten banners. The restaurant was intimate, candles flickering, Marcus's anecdotes laced with double entendres. You remind me of my ex. Fierce, unspoken. Wine warmed, boundaries blurred. His foot grazed mine under the table. I pulled away, citing Asher, the ring. Ah, the revolution, he toasted, undeterred. Guilt gnawed post-dinner, a text to Asher, weird vibes. Keeping distance. His reply, knew it. Come home. But seeds of doubt sprouted. Marcus's flattery a fertilizer for old insecurities. Am I enough? The edge he craved? Perhaps it was the chaos I carried, the difference that drew moths. Asher and I fought in fragments. Snapped words over takeout, silences thicker than fog. He's poaching, Asher accused, scrolling emails. Not just ideas. It escalated at a fest preview, warehouse packed with glitterati, projections dancing on walls. Marcus cornered me backstage, breath hot. Your work's brilliant, but you're the spark. His hand on my elbow, intent clear. I recoiled, heart hammering. Asher witnessed, bursting in like a tempest. Back off, he growled, positioning between us. Marcus smirked. Jealousy? Charming. The shove was instinct. Asher's palm to chest, Marcus stumbling into crates. Security swarmed, whispers rippling. We fled to the alley, rain slicking pavement, Asher's breaths ragged. I can't lose you, he choked, fists clenched. Not to some sleaze exploiting your light. The betrayal inverted, not mine, but the world's assumption. My queerness a vulnerability, ripe for harvest. You think I demanded, rain mingling tears. After everything? He deflated, pulling me close. Fear, he admitted. Echoes of Emily, of family. Of me not being the safe harbor. We cabbed home, soaked and spent, collapsing into bed where words wove repair. Vulnerabilities aired like laundry, promises renewed. Marcus backed off, the project salvaged with Kai's intervention, her designs edgier, untainted. The fest premiered to acclaim, our booth a hub of hugs and high fives. Spring unfurled, but conflict coiled anew. From the heartland. Emily called, voice-edged. David's affair. Found texts. Leaving. The unraveling hit like aftershock, her pleas tumbling. Custody battles, Philly rent due. Theo needs stability, she begged. Help Lucas, just bridge. Asher and I debated in the warehouse, blueprints forgotten. Not again, he warned. Or the cycle spins eternal. We crafted a plan. A loan, not gift, $5,000, repayable quarterly, through the trust. Emily agreed, therapy her covenant. But ripples spread. Mom's ghost, in letters to Theo urging family first. I burned one, ashes to the East River, but the pull persisted. A visit to Philly, Asher in tow, Theo's hugs a narcotic. David's side of the story? Bar fights, job loss, blame deflected. Your sister's too soft. Like you. The divorce dragged summer, court dates a gauntlet. Emily leaned hard, calls nightly. Lawyers want blood. Send more. We held firm, the trust dispersing measured. Betrayal layered, David's infidelity a mirror to Marcus's advance, temptation's universal tax. Asher and I fortified, date nights at Coney Island, cyclone rides purging poisons. Then, the gut punch, a tabloid blip, queer power couple's Midwestern mess. Anonymous leak, Emily's woes splashed, our involvement implied. Speculation swirled. Hargrove heirs feuding? Clients wavered. Haven's phone quiet. They'll spin anything. Asher fumed, pacing. Your difference as drama. The statements resurfaced. I compiled a public ledger, not of money, but narrative. Op-ed in out, from piggy bank to powerhouse. Reclaiming queer legacy. It landed, ripples turning tides. Support pouring, grants renewed. Marcus, blackballed by peers, his film fading. Emily finalized divorce, custody joint but supervised. Theo her North Star. Thanks, she texted. Photo attached. Her and the boy, smiles tentative. Learning boundaries too. Fall harvested growth. Haven House expanding. Satellite in Philly scouted. Kai proposed a podcast, statements of strength, queer voices auditing traumas. Jordan helmed events. Pride marches reimagined as policy pushes. Asher and I, amid the whirl, carved quiet. Anniversaries in Boston, his parents' backyard barbecue, where his dad clapped my back. Son's lucky. You're steel. But steel bends under weight. Winter loomed. A donor gala at the Met. Black tie. Chandeliers dripping opulence. We schmoozed. Asher magnetic. Me sketching mental caricatures. Then, the ghost. Nate. Across the room. Suit tailored. Champagne flute raised. Fancy. He grinned, hug lingering. Asher stiffened beside me, but Nate was charm incarnate. Heard about the op-ed? Hero shit. Conversation flowed. DC gossip, policy pivots, but undercurrents tugged. Nate's eyes on me, appreciative, Asher's grip tightening. Post-gala, cab ride tense. Exorcise him, Asher urged. I nodded, but Nate's card burned in my pocket. Call if DC calls. Temptation? No validation. The allure of uncomplicated camaraderie. Home. Confrontation brewed mild. He's history, I vowed. Asher searched my eyes, finding truth. Good, because you're mine now. Lovemaking followed, reaffirming, tender, fierce, a reclamation. Yet the deepest drama unfolded inward, betrayal's quietest form. Burnout. Deadlines crushed, I ghosted sketches, whiskey a crutch anew. Asher intervened, gentle ambush, statements time, for us. We audited, schedules bloated, self-care starved. Retreat to the garage, Haven House empty in off-season, where we hammered not nails, but narratives, vows to pace, to pause. Emily visited then, Theo in tow, the space a neutral ground. Beautiful, she breathed, tracing murals. We talked raw, her fresh start, dating wary. My empire, its tolls. You're the model, she said. Different, but undefeated. Theo napped in my lap, tiny breaths sinking mine. A legacy unledgered. As snow-dusted Ohio eves, Asher and I drove back, interstates meditative. They feared your statements, he mused. But we fear nothing, together. Brooklyn welcomed, lights aglow. Whitman greeted, tail whirl. The world had treated me transactional, but love? It tallied infinite, humanistic in its boundless sum. Climax crested unexpectedly. A call from Jamie, that teen artist, now 18. Suicide attempt. He confessed, voice quaver. The world's heavy. We flew him east, Haven House, his harbor, therapy, art, community. His recovery mirrored mine, statements shared in group. Ledgers of pain transmuted to power. Spring bloomed defiant. Our second anniversary rooftop, statements burned anew. Old wounds to ash. Asher knelt again, not proposal, but pledge. A custom ink, audit of the heart, tattooed twin on wrists. Forever's the fine print, he whispered. We signed, needles humming him. Different, our dividend. Feared, only by those blind to grace. Summer scorched anew, but our rhythm held. Haven a hive, buzzing with commissions. Murals for Bronx schools, apps for trans resource mapping. Jamie thrived, his exhibit shattered silhouettes drawing crowds. Critics cooing raw humanism. Asher's TEDx talk, Queer Capital. From debt to dividend, went viral, views in millions, invites cascading. I illustrated the promo, lines looping infinity. Chains to wings. But paradise pricks. A rival firm poached Jordan. Better pay, equity promise. Exit interview raw. Not you, the grind. Retention talks failed. He left amicable, but void echoed. Kai stepped up, but strain showed, her transition maintenance piling, insurance gaps yawning. We're bleeding talent, Asher confided, brow furrowed. I nodded, the ledger flipping. Successes tax, retention as reckoning. Family front stabilized, yet simmered. Emily's new beau, a teacher named Riley, steady, spectacled, brought balance, double dates via Zoom, Theo's antics the glue. Mom's absence lingered, but in dreams, her voice, brave one. Dad's garage, thriving, residencies full, a podcast booth echoing laughs. Then the betrayal broadside, a whistleblower email anonymous to our board, allegations of fund mismanagement, cherry-picked transactions from the trust, twisted to imply graft. Hargrove's history of family loans, red flag, panic spiked, Asher white-knuckled. Sabotage, that rival. Investigation launched, lawyers circling like sharks. Media sniffed, headlines hedging. Queer darling in hot water? The statements. I compiled exhaustive, timelines threading truth. Every wire legit. Impact metrics glowing. Youth served. 500 plus. Lives touched. Infinite. Press conference loomed. Asher scripting, me visualizing. Infographics of transparency. But doubt gnawed. Am I the flaw? The different one dragging us under? Climax crashed, gala night. Met again. Chandeliers mocking. Investors mingled. Whispers venomous. Then, reveal. The leaker, unmasked via IP, Marcus, bitter exile, grudge nursed. His confession email, forwarded contrite. Regret. Jealousy fueled folly. Drop charges? We did. Mercy our metric, public statement. Forgiveness as framework. The fallout? Backlash brief, loyalty surging. Donors doubled down. Out cover. Unbreakable audit. Haven weathered, stronger, policy arm birthed. Lobbying for queer fiscal equity. Fall gilded triumphs. Asher's book deal, statements of fear. Reclaiming the queer economy. My forward inked heartfelt. Book tour kicked off Boston, his parents hosting launch, crowd wrapped, Q&A electric. Nate appeared, genuine. In awe, to you both. Handshake firm, past pensioned. Emily's wedding, small, Philly Park. Riley in tweed. Theo ring-bearer tumbling petals. I walked her, arm linked, vows echoing ours, through storms. Asher best man Ed, toast poignant. Family's not blood. It's chosen ledgers, balanced in love. Mom's letter read, tears collective. Winter whispered closure. Haven House holiday fair, light strung, carols queer infused. Jamie emceed, voice steady. From Piggy to Powerhouse, thanks Lucas. Asher and I slipped away, roof under stars, Whitman at feet. 5 years, he murmured, ring twirling. From hook to horizon. I leaned in, breath mingling. You showed me the statements worth fearing losing this. Kiss deepened. City symphony below. Different. Our doctrine. Treated ill. Past tense. Now we audited futures, humanistic tallies. Love's infinite return. Theo's 3rd birthday, spring burst. Philly visit. Cake chaos. Emily radiant. Stable, she confided. Thanks to your model. Garage residency full, Ohio teens blooming. Kai's promotion, new hires diverse, ecosystem thriving. Yet, the arc's end loomed gentle. Asher's proposal redux, not knee, but dawn run. Halting mid-stride, words tumbling. Kids? Someday? Heart-swelled visions of mini-MES, sketches and suits. Yes, I breathed. Our revolution expands. Surrogacy talks began, cautious dreams drafted. No rush, life's ledger patient. Summer solstice, rooftop solstice, we burned final statements, old resentments to embers. Humanity's the happy end, Asher quipped, Hazel lit. America, vast and vexed, cradled us. Suburbs to skylines, betrayals to bonds. They treated me like a piggy bank for being different, but I showed statements they feared. Of resilience, romance, reclamation. Asher's hand in mine, we tallied forward, gay, dramatic, undaunted. Epilogue whispered in autumn leaves. Theo's first sketch, crayon chaos. A family, for figures handheld under rainbows. Uncle Wooka's, he lisped, gifting it. Framed beside Mom's letter, beside Dad's note. The vault, overflowing. The fear, faded to footnote. And so we lived not perfectly but profoundly. Laughter louder than loss. Love the ultimate audit.